Welcome. So, in today's session, we'll be studying about hypothesis. Previous videos we had studied about different types of researchers, what is literature review, then how we can do a research plan, what is research design, and like that we have studied many. And in today's session, we'll be studying in detail about the hypothesis. So the term hypothesis, we all have heard about this term hypothesis related with research. So without setting a we have heard like without setting a hypothesis, we cannot proceed with our research work. By doing hypothesis or by setting up hypothesis, it will make our research work more easier like that. So what do you mean by hypothesis? So in simple term or in simple way, we can say hypothesis as a tentative solution to a research problem. That is, we will be having a research problem. To that research problem, we will be having a small idea about the problem and how to solve that problem. And this knowledge may arises due to or with help of some readings or with some literature works which already has been or which is existing in the world. So with help of those knowledge, we will be having an idea to solve that particular problem. So that is the tentative solution to a problem. So now we can go through the meaning of hypothesis. Hypothesis, it is simply an assumption that is made on the basis of some evidence. That is, there will be some evidence on basis of that evidence. That is, on basis of some literature works, we will be having an assumption, and that assumption is hypothesis. And this hypothesis may be true or false. That will be according to our research work. And a research hypothesis is a hypothesis that is used to test the relationship between two or more variables. In a research work, we will be having two or more variables. There will be dependent, independent, extraneous, like that. We will be having many variables. So, what is the relationship between all these variables? That will be tested using this hypothesis. So, now we are going to study about more about types of hypothesis. Before that, I had mentioned that the hypothesis which we had set up for research may or may not be correct. And same way, when we are setting up a hypothesis, it should be very clear and it should be very precise. Without a precise statement, it is not easy to understand the concept. So our term or our statement of hypothesis should be always clear and precise. And also this hypothesis will be used for testing in a research work. So now we can go through what are or which are different types, characteristics of hypothesis. After going through characteristics, we can move to types. So as I had mentioned, it should be clear and precise. Then hypothesis is relational hypothesis, so it states the relationship between different variables. Then it should be very specific. Then only we can give it for test. Then it should explain in a very simple manner and it should able us to understand the concept in a better way. So now we are moving to types of hypothesis. So first type of hypothesis may be null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. So first we can study what is null hypothesis. Null hypothesis is a type of hypothesis that states there is no relationship between two variables. That is, when we are studying about two variables, null hypothesis states that there is no relationship between two variables. And it states results are due to chance and are not significant in terms of supporting the idea being investigated. Means, we states that our null hypothesis states that there is no relationship between both variables, no relationship, so that it is the true or false. That will be according to the chance of occurrence. And in case of an alternate hypothesis, it states that there is a relationship between two variables. That is, one variable will be or one variable is depending on the other variable. And here it states that results are not due to chance, and also the significant it support the theory. There will be some theories. It support the study will be always supporting on the theory. For example, if they state that eating ice cream has no relation with running temperature. That is, to cause a fever, eating ice cream may be a reason. Or, for example, eating ice cream has no relation with running a temperature. So here we have two variables, ice cream and temperature. So, and the other statement is eating ice cream has a relation with running temperature. So one says that there is relation and other says that there is no relation. So there is relation if the statement which shows there is relation, that is alternate hypothesis, and other one is null hypothesis. Now next type is non-directional hypothesis and directional hypothesis. Non-directional hypothesis. So non-directional hypothesis means here the non-directional hypothesis predicts that the independent variable will have an effect on dependent variable, but the direction of effect is not specified. That is, the relationship or how it is affected, that won't be much specified, but there is a relation, or the one independent variable may affect dependent variable. That is non-directional hypothesis. And in case of directional hypothesis, it predicts that the nature of the effect of independent variable on the dependent variable. So here it reflects the nature, how it is. Non-directional, there the nature won't be specified. It says that there is some relationship, or one will depend on other. It will be mentioned, but the nature won't be mentioned. In directional, the nature will be mentioned. So in directional hypothesis, here it shows how a researcher is intellectual and committed to a particular outcome. That is, how much he will be involved in the research work. That is directional hypothesis. Next type is simple hypothesis and complex hypothesis. As its name indicates, if it shows a relationship between one dependent variable and a single independent variable, that is simple hypothesis. For example, we can say that if we eat more vegetables, we will lose our weight faster. Complex means here the relationship between two or more dependent variables and two or more independent variables. Independent and dependent variables will be more, and the hypothesis will be more complex. So here, for example, we can say that by eating more vegetables and fruits. So here we have two variables, vegetables and fruits, independent variables, and the result is we will be having weight loss, glowing skin. It reduces risk to have diseases like that. So we cannot connect with one to other. Here with both we will be getting all these. So that is complex hypothesis. Now we are moving to next, that is descriptive hypothesis. As its name indicates, descriptive hypothesis means it is a statement about the existence, size, form or distribution of a variable. That is, what is that particular variable. About everything on that particular variable will be described there. And the size, how it occurs, everything will be described about that hypothesis. The variables in the hypothesis, that is descriptive hypothesis. And next is statistical hypothesis. A statistical hypothesis is an assumption about a population parameter. That is, in some cases we give examples to show that size of population, or we give some examples like that. That is just to show that whether it is true or not. For example, we can say that the statement like the population means is equal to 10. That is, we are giving an example, or here we are giving a variable, and that variable will be equal to some other thing. So that is a statistical assumption or statistical hypothesis. So it may or may not be true. Now we have another type of hypothesis, that is relational hypothesis. So in relational hypothesis, here it is a statement about the relationship between two variables concerning some cases. That is, in case we will be having like human relations, we will be having some relation between dependent and independent variables. So how much it is related, or what is the relationship between those two variables? That is relational hypothesis, and this relational hypothesis are in two types. One is correlational hypothesis and second one is explanatory or causal hypothesis. So correlational hypothesis means here the variables occur together in some specified manner without implying that one causes the other. Here the cause or the effect won't be mentioned. And in causal hypothesis, what they do is, here the one variable leads to a specified effect on other variable. That means in correlation hypothesis, the cause won't be much highlighted there. But in case of causal hypothesis, the cause or effect will be there. It will be shown there. So that is relational hypothesis. Next we have working hypothesis. This is another type of hypothesis where this hypothesis is provisionally accepted as a basis for further research in the hope that a tenable theory will be produced. We predict or we think that something new will be there, or something good will happen. Like that we'll be thinking, and sometimes it may fail also. So the working hypothesis means the hypothesis on which we works. So we don't have any conclusion, but we think that something will be happen, and sometimes this hypothesis also becomes false. So that is working hypothesis. For example, it is given that a plant biologist may think that plant height may be affected by applying different fertilizers. So they might say plants what different fertilizers will grow to different heights. So like that. But it is not necessary that by using different fertilizers the plant size will be different. It is not necessary to be like that. So sometimes it might fail and sometimes it might be true. So I think you are clear with different types of hypothesis. Thank you.